Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 1,000 kilometers of the Nürburgring, one of the greatest spectacles in international motor racing. The World Sportscar Championship now enters its closing stages. With just 3 races remaining, the championship battle could scarcely be any closer. Every point is precious, every position hard-earned, and there is still everything to play for in what has been one of the most fiercely contested seasons in recent memory. The flag falls, and they're away. Drivers showing admirable restraint in these opening moments. There is little to be gained by taking unnecessary risks so early for everyone here. And it is the Chaparral that leads the field in these opening moments. The remarkable white machine, driven by Phil Hill and Joe Bonnier, has made a magnificent start and already looks wonderfully settled as it sweeps through the opening kilometers of the Nürburgring. Close behind come the 2 factory Ferraris, but there is something of a surprise between them. David Piper, in his privately entered Ferrari 250 LM, has muscled his way into second position, splitting the Scuderia entries. One suspects there may be a rather animated discussion awaiting on the Ferrari pit wall should he continue to hold up the works machines. The leaders are now threading their way through the twisting Hudson-Bach complex, where precision is every bit as important as outright speed. Here, the Chaparral appears perfectly at home. Phil Hill is making full use of the car's remarkable grip, inching further clear, while the Ferraris search in vain for an opportunity to close the gap. This will be immensely encouraging for the American team. Chaparral has arrived with a series of aerodynamic refinements ahead of next month's 24 Hours of Le Mans, and these opening laps suggest the latest developments are already paying handsome dividends. Yet one can never discount Ferrari. The Scarlet cars have demonstrated throughout the season that they possess formidable pace. The lingering question, however, is whether they can combine that speed with the reliability required to conquer 1,000 kilometers around the fearsome Nürburgring. The stakes this afternoon could scarcely be higher. With the championship entering its final stages, every point is invaluable. The absence of both the Jaguar and Ford factory teams, already concentrating their efforts on Le Mans, has handed Ferrari and Chaparral a golden opportunity to claw back ground in the standings. But on the Nürburgring, opportunity alone guarantees nothing. Nearly 14 miles of relentless corners, crests, and compressions lie ahead. And before this race is over, the Nürburgring is certain to have its say. And at last the breakthrough has come. The #1 Ferrari of John Surtees and Mike Parks has finally found a way past their fellow countryman David Piper. The decisive move comes under braking for Bergwerk, where Surtees wastes no time in putting the works Ferrari into second place. Now the task before him is a formidable one. The Chaparral, in the hands of Phil Hill and Joe Bonnier, has already disappeared into the distance, making full use of its impressive pace around the Nürburgring's daunting twists and turns. Meanwhile, the sister Ferrari of Ludovico Scarfiotti and Lorenzo Bandini continues to be delayed behind Piper's determined Ferrari 250 LM. Piper is driving a magnificent race, refusing to surrender his position without a fight, despite the relentless pressure from the factory entry. And that battle is allowing the chasing pack to close in. The Ford GT40s are looming ever larger in the mirrors, showing tremendous pace through the faster sections of the circuit, while the nimble Porsche 906 remains firmly in contention. The German machine may lack outright power, but its agility and consistency could yet prove decisive should any of the leading contenders encounter mechanical trouble or simply make the slightest mistake. Now our cameras turn to one of the most fascinating stories of this World Sportscar Championship season, the factory Porsche 906 of Hans Hermann and Dieter Glemser. It has, in many respects, been a season of frustration for the Stuttgart marque. Their points tally scarcely reflects the pace they have demonstrated at almost every circuit. Time and again, the Porsche has possessed the speed to challenge for class honors, only to be outmaneuvered by the clever pit work and imaginative strategy of Ferrari's Dino 206S entries. But today, the German team finds itself exactly where it wants to be, running amongst the leading cars and in a prime position to claw back some invaluable championship points. If ever there was a race to turn their fortunes around, this could well be it. Just a short distance behind comes another of the season's quiet achievers, the F. English Ford GT40, shared by Innes Ireland and Mike Salmon, has enjoyed a rather understated start to its World Championship campaign. Rarely has it grabbed the headlines, yet the pace has always been there beneath the surface. That promise finally came to fruition with a splendid podium finish at Spa-Francorchamps. And the confidence gained from that result is evident once again here at the Nürburgring. And as the Chaparral completes the opening lap of this grueling 1,000-kilometer contest, one thing is already abundantly clear. We are in for another tremendous chapter in what has been a truly remarkable World Sportscar Championship season. Welcome back to the Nürburgring, where we are fast approaching the halfway point of this enthralling 1,000-kilometer race. Out front, it is still the Chaparral that commands proceedings. The American machine has established a convincing advantage, and despite their best efforts, the factory Ferraris have simply been unable to match its astonishing turn of speed. Further back, the number 15 Porsche 906 has slipped away from the overall leaders, yet it continues to lead the P2 class. One of the drives of the afternoon, however, has come from Peter Sutcliffe. During his stint, he has produced a magnificent charge to wrestle the sports car class lead away from the F. English Ford GT40 of Innes Ireland and Mike Salmon. Elsewhere, the Calcool Ferrari continues to head the GT3 category after a faultless run. And in the S2 class, it is the number 66 Porsche 904 that remains comfortably in command. With 500 kilometers completed and 500 still to run, the Nürburgring is certain to have more twists in store. No lead is ever truly secure until the checkered flag is finally waved.
Well, here we are, once again stood at the side of a racetrack, here at the Nürburgring, 1,000 kilometres, waiting for our teammate Peter Sutcliffe to come into the pits so we can start the second half of this race. As the leaders go by, we should be about 4th overall at this point. He's done very well once again after a very poor qualifying by myself. He's not so happy with my performance. Here he comes now with second place right behind, so let's get on with it. Well, here we are once again back at Racing Past. My name is Freddie and we are continuing our World Sportscar Championship season of 1966, and it is the 6th round now. We're now on the final stretch of this 66 sports car season for the World Sports Car Championship, at least, as we decide to unsteer off as we are full of fuel and on very probably rock hard cold tyres to start with, so we'll take it nice and easy as we will try and tackle the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometres. So this is quite an important race for us, as in terms of our championship. We're in the sports car over 3 litre class, so that also includes the Ford GT40 Mark 1, the Ferrari 250 LM, also I think it includes the Shelby Cobra, and I think that's it really for our class. There's only 3 different cars, but really the stars of the show are the ones that we're in, which is the Ford GT40 Mark 1, but within that a very tight competitive bunch of drivers. As we do have one of the 250 LMs behind us. They do seem to be doing quite well here at Nürburgring. Certainly the cars lend themselves to this circuit, so hopefully they'll score some more points at this round. It does seem to be the Ford GT40s are all at the top of the standings in our class anyway. But as for the standings go, oh no, as we know, please no. How on earth did we survive that? As there goes one of our main competitors, and actually our championship rival is right behind us now, so that was a costly mistake. So we were leading this race thanks to our teammate and team owner Peter Sutcliffe, who we're driving for this season, and as we have been all season throughout our British sports car campaign at the start of the year, and then throughout this World Sportscar Championship. So as the standings go, we are currently on 26 points. We have slowly but surely improved over the races. We got a 3rd place at Daytona, a 2nd place at Sebring, and 1st place and an overall win at Monza. We didn't race this car at the Targa Florio, and at Spa we got a 4th place, so that leaves us on 26 points. which our closest rival, which I believe could be the car right behind us, is on 21 points of the Essex Wire Corporation, which is the Revson and Gregory car, and then 1 point behind them is the other Essex Wire car of Thompson and Scott. And then behind them it's a three-way tie for fourth, all in 10 points, between Bill Wonder, the Scuderia St Ambrius Ferrari 250LM, and the Ford France of Ligier and Grenadier. So it is a three-horse race, and currently one of those horses is right behind us. And we do need, even though we are ahead on points, we know that we might have to make some sacrificial points at our next race, which is the big one, Le Mans. So I mentioned it in the previous video, but we have some choices to make when it comes to Le Mans, because the Peter Sutcliffe 4GT40 did not qualify for Le Mans in 1966, so instead he drove for Scuderia Filippinetti. So as we do, we try and follow the timeline of what actually happened in 1966. However, I am happy to give a bit of leeway when it comes to the historical accuracy of these races. So I do include some cars that maybe weren't in each race. As far as I'm concerned, as long as the car is on the entry list, and whether it turned up or not, I feel like that's fair game. So in this race, I think only one Ferrari 330 P3 actually turned up and raced, as that is not what we want to do there. On the modern day circuit, absolutely you can attack the curbs in certain places, but here you want to stay on the grey stuff, because not like that, because you'll flip. And I've already undone most of Peter Sutcliffe's work in the first stint, so he's already done half the race. And again, my poor qualifying meant that we started probably about 12th, and he got us up all the way to 4th place overall and first in class, and we're now second in class, probably still about sort of in the top 5 overall at this point. But yeah, so there are two Ferrari 330 P3s in this race, although only one turned up, but there was one on the entry list that didn't arrive. So as far as I'm concerned, we'll add it in for, basically it makes the championship a bit closer. Even if they're not in our class, it makes the top class championship closer, which will go over where everyone stands. But as far, I was saying, for Lawn next time out, we've got some choices to make. So as this car didn't qualify in real life, what we can do as option 1 is run a Le Mans test day and qualification to decide what cars for each class are entered. Option 2, we just race this car anyway, and that gives us a much better chance of winning the championship as long as we score some good points. The third option is that we give Peter Sutcliffe an upgrade and turn it into a Mark II and go for the outright win. Or option 4, which seems to be a popular one so far, is that on the entry list there was a Ford GT40 Mark II entered under Scuderia Filippinetti that, as far as I can see and research, there is nothing on it. So whatever happened there, unfortunately never came to fruition. But because it's on the entry list, I'm more than happy to enter that car, and I've already done the livery rendition of it, and the Ford GT40 Mark II in that sort of reddish, maroonish colour with a bit of a green accent on the front, as it did run the Mark 1 at Le Mans, does look very good. So we're sort of kind of voting on the Racing Pass Discord, so if you would like to join and cast your vote, either write it in the YouTube comment underneath this video, or you can join our Discord via the link in the description, and that's where we just talk about videos, obviously historic racing, obviously anything current as well, upcoming videos, and again there'll be lots of opportunities for viewers to participate in some of the decision makings when it comes to these series, as the SXY car is all over the back of us now, as the sun just starting to cast some longer shadows as we're entered the final half of the race. It was very cloudy to start with, but I don't know where they all went, because actually it's supposed to rain. In real life it was sort of cloudy, overcast, and then it began to rain towards the end. However, I do think my weather has stopped working, so it's just bright sunshine, but nevertheless we shall carry on, as once again we have quite a few expired racing cars. Again, I've put the settings where they can rejoin after they have a crash, but they don't seem to want to, which is fine. My processor once again will be very happy with me, because it does struggle immensely when it's trying to control 50 odd cars around quite a large circuit. So if I do get some frame drops, I do apologise, but I'm running pretty much at 100% capacity of my current processor anyway. So that's where we currently stand in the championship. So obviously if we decide to go for one of the Ford GT Mark 2s, obviously we are going to have to sacrifice quite a big haul of points. So long as we win here, and the SXY cars perhaps don't perform as well, that gives us a bigger buffer when it comes to points, then at least then we can continue this championship to the final race at Hockenheim, which once again in 1966 only hosted the P2 class of car, which would have been, well, sorry, not P2, the P1 class of car, which would have been Porsche 906s and the Ferrari Dino 206s, and then the lower category of sports cars like the 904, Lotus Elan, probably some Baths as well, and maybe some GT cars as well, like Jaguar E-Types, Ferrari 275s, and so on. It's just the big, say, S3 class that we're in, and the big boy class of the P2 cars that didn't attend. But I think my plan is for that is that any of sort of the leading contenders in the championship will head to Hockenheim to basically will finish off our championship there, just to keep everything nice and interesting, and also interesting to see how the cars race at Hockenheim as well, because I think the reason why they didn't turn up in real life is because I don't think the circuit was quite ready yet, after sort of the first sort of revamp, I believe after the war it would have been. So that's the current plan for the next two races. So we'll see where we finish here at Nürburgring, and then we'll move on to the Le Mans in some capacity, and then obviously Hockenheim we will return back with Peter Sutcliffe in the Ford GT14 to try and win another Sports Car Championship. We did win the British Sports Car Championship earlier on in the year, and then after that we move on to the United States Road Racing Championship, Again, I haven't chosen what Ford GT40 we're going to race, and I think there's only 1 or 2 that did actually compete in that. And then, of course, Can-Am starts, I think it started in about like September, October, didn't it, in 66? So obviously we've got Can-Am to compete in as well for the remainder of the year. And then we did start our series, the Pacific Sports Car Championship, which is a host of non-championship events that were in the region of Japan and Australia. So that was Fuji, Suzuka, Longford, and Surfers Paradise, as well as our first race for that championship we did, which didn't happen, was the Bathurst 12 Hour of 1966, which we made up. I just wanted to see how the cars coped around Bathurst in the 60s. Turns out not too well, so if you'd like to watch that one, then please do. But yes, that championship hasn't gone off to a good start, but we will return to that later on at the end of this year, as well as I completely forgot about, obviously you've got the Springbok Championship, which is obviously some of the sports car racing down in South Africa over the winter period, so I need to try and squeeze those in as well. So we've still got a very action-packed roster of championships still to compete and still to go. Like I said last time, we had attempted to do the Trans Am series as well, because that obviously started in 1966 at Sebring, which we did that race. We did the 12 hours of Sebring, and then obviously the 4 hours of Sebring for the Trans Am, which we won our first race. And the plan was to do then the Trans Am series as well, but I think I've given myself more videos than I can actually complete, so we're going to park that for now. Maybe if there's another double header of Trans Am and either United States Road Racing Championship or Can-Am, then we'll do that. Otherwise, I will come back and just do a saloon car, touring car championship series at some point. So that sort of rounds up everything that we've got going on, as we have yet again found ourselves on a track with 50 plus cars, and yet I am driving around on my own. So like I said, I believe we're in second. That light blue GT40 would have been the English car, which will be driven by Inns Island and Chris Amos. And we raced with Inns Island at that would have been Sebring, and we raced with Bob Grossman at Daytona, and we also raced with Bob Grossman at the Targa Florio, but we did that in a Ford France GT40 because they're the only ones bad enough to turn up to that race. We did okay, we survived, I think is all we can say. But again, no one else turned up to that race in our class, so actually we didn't lose or gain any points. That was just a neutral race as we go over one of the corners I hate the most because it's blind, and if you brake for it too late you go straight off into the trees, and hopefully we won't find that out during our stint. So yeah, so we're currently, I believe we're in second in class, unless he pitted, but I don't remember seeing, as we will make up our own part of Flan's Garden. Again, no one's around, so no one can see that. If we come to the end, well, it always feels like the end of the lap because it's the long straight of the Dottinger Her, but actually it's, you've got the nice twisty chicane right at the end as we miss. Oh, so we missed the mini carousel there. It's important to try and get a very good run out of here to give us the best top speed, which that wasn't the best actually. oh, there's a cut. Oh. Now is that our competitor? I mean, as far as points go, that F English car is currently down in 11th on 5 points. They scored a 3rd place at Spa. So even if they did win, they would still be quite a few points away from the front runners. Oh, it's becoming quite hot. Okay. Right, let's keep a lookout in the pits. There's a Cobra. It's way too smoky. I can't see anything. No. Oh, we got a Cobra in front of us here. Now this one is an outclass. Whether this is for position or being lapped, I couldn't tell you. Because they are actually surprisingly quick here. I guess they are a bit lighter than what we are. And probably not too dissimilar power. I guess the power to weight ratio probably isn't too different on these two cars. So this could be for position. But no, if he just pitted, then no. I'm gonna go. No, I don't think it is actually. So as far as we're aware, the only other cars that are in front of us for the overall outright win, which I don't think we'll do. I think we'll get close. We could get close to a podium overall, but so we have what would have been a revised Chaparral D2 or 2D, whichever way around it is. So originally that only did Daytona, and then didn't do any other races, and then came to Nürburgring, and then won. Remarkably. So that is currently leading this race, as we've got a bit of a lock up there from the Cobra. Keeps it on the tarmac though. We are struggling to keep up with it. We've definitely got the top speed on it, but this is not an overtaking place. Schwedenkreuz and Nürburgring. Down to the foxhole, but again, there's no room here for an overtake. Not one that's you want to go well. As we've clipped all those wrong. How brave are we feeling into the foxhole? We're going to lift off. Not quite a modern GT3 car, but not flat out up until the top. Okay, it just gets a bit of a better traction off the exit of the corners, being a bit lighter. I mean, it's not really holding us up, but maybe it would be nice to get past. But yes, as for the Chaparral, yes, in the actual 96 season, it did Daytona, and then it did Nürburgring and won. It is currently leading, but in our championship, it has competed at... where has it competed? Oh, it did Spa last time out, and it did Sebring. I don't think it did Monza Definitely didn't do the Targa Florio. But it's currently on 12 points, so if it did win, it would take it to the top of the leaderboard, because in this championship we've already also included the Jaguar XJ13, which obviously didn't participate in the 1966 season, but it's currently part of the 66 season mod pack. There is one, and it just seems a shame not to use it if someone's put the time and effort into making it. And also it adds a bit more to the championship. There's now another 2 cars, and I've made it that it's the factory effort from Jaguar running these XJ13s, which probably was the plan at some point, in maybe 67 or 68. But unfortunately only one car was made and then it got destroyed. So, but again, like I said at the start, sort of I'm open to interpretation of what we can add into this 66 season. I think it's interesting to see how the cars do. And actually they are doing very well. Currently the David Hobbs and Richard Atwood entered XJ13's currently leading the P2 category on 19 points, ahead of the Foyt, Bunken and Ginther 4GT Mark II on 13 points. That won Daytona and got a 5th place at Sebring, which is actually in joint second with then the Surtees and Parks Ferrari 330 P3, which got it won its class at Monza and got a 5th place at Spa, and it's currently doing either 2nd or 3rd at this race. So again, they'll get some good points. And then behind them, there's 2 cars at 12 points, which is the Bizzarini GT Strada, which is a surprising 5th place in that class. But it has ended in most of the races, and it did get a 4th at Monza and a 2nd at the Targa Florio. I do believe it is in this race, so we'll see how it does here, because that would then send it towards the top of the championship, along with potentially Chaparral and factory Ferrari. Yes, and that's currently drawing with the Chaparral at the moment, 12 points, and then there's 3 cars on 10 points, which is the Baccarella and Bandini, as we're going to go down the inside. Didn't quite plan for that. Again, having a tighter line is just going to compromise us, and it's going to get the power down. We definitely shouldn't go for a move here, but no, braking too late, locked up. That was lucky. That's what I said was going to happen. Don't listen to myself. Well, I think we're just going to have to get him on the straight. I mean, we should have the straight line speed on that Cobra. Yes, 3 cars and 10 points is what I'm saying for the P2 class of cars, which is the Mars and Ruby GT40 X1 that won Sebring, the Vaccarella and Bandini 330 P3 that won the Targa Florio in the class, and the Yukuri Francorchamps Ferrari 365 P2 that also got a win, as well as now we can put the power down, and we're sitting in the slipstream, and we're not. We're not. Maybe the next gear, maybe run out of gears. There we go. Bit of a wheelie there as we went over. yeah, that's no slouch, that Cobra. That should do pretty well. We can now go over Tiergarten, turn it in, bit of air, and then we go to the final chicane for another lap. Again, we still haven't seen the F English car, so as far as I'm aware, we're still in second place. So we'll look to the pit lane, and again, cannot see anything. Those cars still haven't been put out. Maybe I should turn smoke off for the next race. So yeah, so that's the roundup of the P2 class of cars. It is the Jaguar cars of Hobbs and Atwood in first, followed by the Holman and Moody, Voigt Button Ginther, 4GT40 Mark II, and then the first of the factory Ferraris of 30 years apart in third. The Bizzarini is currently in fourth, Chaparral in fifth, Marvin Ruby 4GT40 in sixth, the Whitmore and Gardner 4GT40 Mark II, the last time out winners at Spa in seventh. So yeah, so after this race, that could be quite a close championship going into Le Mans, and then obviously the P1 class of car. So that is your 906s and 206s. So currently leading, it is the Ferrari of Scaffarotti and Bandini on 27 points, followed by the factory Porsche of Herman, Bazzetta and Mitter on 17 points. And then after that, it pretty much alternates from Ferrari, from Porsche, from Ferrari, from Porsche, from Ferrari, from Porsche. So that is, again, a very competitive class. I haven't really seen 206 Dinos. It certainly has been the Porsche 906s that have favoured this race in that class, so that should close up those gaps nicely. And once again, heading into Le Mans should really bring the championship in nice and close, and then we'll fight out the remaining places at Hockenheim. As far as the other two classes, so we've got the GT class of cars, which I already said. It's like the Jaguar E-Type, the Ferrari 275, Mustang, I think also Corvettes earlier on. Those cars seem to only race, I guess regionally is the right word. Certainly the American cars only really raced at Sebring, Daytona. The European cars like the Ferrari have only really raced at sort of Monza, Targa Florio and Spa. While they're all quite equal in points, it's only because each of them have only really done two races and not a full season. So yeah, it'd be interesting who wins that, but I guess it depends who will continue to compete in the next two races. And again, same again for the what I've called the S2 class, which is a mixture of my S1.6, S2, basically the smaller capacity sports cars. So like I said, it was the Porsche 904, Lotus Elan, the Alfa Romeo TZ2, Alfa Romeo Giulia GTA. There's quite an eclectic mix of cars in that one, but I've sort of all grouped them together because I think that's 5 classes there already. So to try and, I think I'd have like 7 or 8 classes in the end. So I'd happily group those together, and they have been competitive. Once again, it depends who's turned up to each race. I don't think a single one of those cars has done a full season, but again, back then, cars didn't. So it's the same for our class, it's the same for the top class. You know, the Fords only did Daytona and Sebring, and then occasionally they'd send a Mark II to Spa for a bit of testing. So yeah, it was just the way of the world back then. So we've played it a little bit differently. So we've tried to sort of keep it close, keep it consistent. So then all the championships stay nice and close, which they have done. I think they will, certainly after this race. And like I said, adding other cars that may not have participated but were on the entry list. Again, I'm fine to have marks taken off for my accuracy on that one. But yeah, certainly the sun is now setting. The shadows are nice and long. We are coming up to the end of our stint here at the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometres, and we've so far managed to have not seen anyone. Once again, I don't know how I keep doing it, but there we go. And if it doesn't look like the rain's going to turn up, I shall definitely try and get my weather fixed for Le Mans, because obviously one of the main parts of the story was the weather. It certainly started off a bit damp and gloomy, and in the night it got very wet, and then towards the end it sort of calmed down a bit. But yes, we'll try and keep that as accurate as possible. As I can see, very familiar shape in my rear view mirror with what should be a couple of laps to go. That looked like almost a baby blue GT40, so that could be the F English car that pitted. It's much fresher tyres than we are. I did notice actually when Pete Sutcliffe finished his stint that the tyres were pretty they'd been well used. They weren't going to give much more, and I imagine the AI are probably a little bit kinder on tyres than I am, so that could be interesting. Fuel should be about the same. We should only have enough fuel for the next couple of laps, and I don't imagine they would overfill. But yes, this is something we got. Maybe I need to put my foot down a bit, as long as the tyres take it. So that does mean we're in first in class. Now I haven't seen the other cars, so I'm going to assume it's a Chaparral first, Ferrari 330 P3 in second and third. We should be good for a Ferrari championship hopes, and Chaparral as well, and we'll definitely have a look at that at the end. But I mean, in the actual race itself, I mean, we're not too far off the results, really. Because by the halfway point, that 906 was still up there. And I say it was an impressive win for Chaparral as they turned up with a, not a brand new car, but one that was sort of heavily modified compared to the original at Daytona, and then to come out and win. I mean, the Ferrari of John Surtees and Mike Parks was quicker and was leading, but it did retire just before the halfway point of the race due to mechanical problems, which is basically the story of Ferrari in 1966. Very fast, Ford pushed them a bit too much, and it cost them a bit of reliability, which we all know back then was just as important as speed. But it did mean that then 206 Ferraris of Scafarotti and Bandini, and also Rodriguez and Ginter, were hot on the heels really of the Chaparral. So they got second and third. And then it was the 906 of Bondurant and Hawkins who got 4th overall. And then there was the full front of Chasseur and Ligier with 5th. So all as we lock up into the first corner once again, let's avoid these trees. That's going to put him right on the back of us. So yeah, so we're not going to be too far off the actual final result. I did have an idea. I think I did mention this quite early on in this video series that I was going to try and give a percentage of how correct we were in the finishing result for our races compared to what they were in real life. Maybe I'll do that at the end. I'm not very good at maths and I wouldn't quite know how to work that out, but I'm sure there's a spreadsheet somewhere where I can do that. Just because it's interesting, really, nothing more than that. Adds nothing. But yeah, just to see how accurate we were in our 1966 season, even though like I said, we've added cars that weren't in it and stuff, so we're never going to be 100%. But I feel like this race is probably would be the closest to a good percentage, as I think that's the best we've taken that sequence of corners so far, as we are now under pressure on this last lap, I do believe. So we do need to keep him at bay, which I don't think there are many passing places, but if we can keep him at about this distance, we should get some nice air there this time, we should retain the lead and crucial points really for our championship, because that means if he's behind us, it means that's a buffer now to the SXY car, which means that we're going to get they're going to have a bigger points deficit to us, which means that we can hopefully, it gives us the other two options for Le Mans. Like I said, either we'll go for the outright win for two of the options, and then the other two we'll try and win the championship in this car. But again, like I said, we'll take the championship to Hockenheim if needed, which I think it will, so I think that'll be interesting, which means then that we can try and go for the overall win at Le Mans, and then that would pretty much conclude the World Sportscar Championship season. I mean, it would go on for the other classes. I think there's quite a few other races, but for these top class of cars, it sort of stopped at Le Mans. And then whether I mean, we've still got loads of ways. And what are you thinking about the next season? I do, but we were, like I said, we've still got United States road racing to go through, Caravan to go through, our races that are in Japan and Australia to go through, as well as then I forgot about the Springbok ones in South Africa during the winter. So plenty of 60 sports car action to come. But where do we go next, as we are really pushing these tyres now? But we have gaps in a bit, so we'll try and keep this up. Yeah, where do we go next? Because there is word that there is a 67 DLC pack as we go wide, not quite into the wall. I think these tyres are cooked, and this is the wrong part of the track for them to be cooked on. We've got a long way to go. Coming up to Bergwerk. Couldn't really be much further from the start finish, I don't think. But onto this fast section of the circuit, so we'll try and eke out a bit more of a gap. He's quite far away actually. It's probably the furthest that we've seen him since we've seen him, so we've definitely gotten the wake up call. But yes, now I will, once the season concludes, I will put I will open the floor to ideas of where we want to go next. I know I already got a few ideas, whether that is, we'll start Group C or start somewhere in the 90s for BPR and then the FAI GT Championship into them the American Le Mans series and stuff like that. That really interests me. Also, there is word of a 67 pack at some point being done in the next 6 months to a year, so we could just carry on to the 60s. As well as in other disciplines as well, and try and use some different games. I'm all for the planning, but when it comes to executing, I do like to procrastinate, as we have really used all the size now, and he's got a little bit closer. Need to hold him off for another quarter of the lap or so, or 1/3. As we come through, it's this Whipperman and then Brinchen. Again, I think this might be my fastest lap, even with all the oversteering moments. We'll take this nice and easy though. I do not want to bin it here. And there is it looked red in that flash of light through the trees. I don't think that's Ferrari. Not cut the track this time, we'll keep it on black stuff. Through Flans Garden. Touch of grass there. The light blinding us through the conifers there in the distance. Is that Anna Bath, is it? I think so, so that is in the lower class. Hopefully it shouldn't block us, as long as I don't catch it up too quickly, as we get a massive sideways moment at that corner, which I haven't done so far this race. So yeah, these tyres are done, but luckily it is just a long straight and that little chicane towards the end. He's right on us now. We're going to try and get a good run. Hopefully this car doesn't, I don't think it's going to block us, but will the car behind have trouble getting past? Sometimes the I do. Are you going to go left or right because you're bang in the middle? To the right. Is he going to have trouble going past? Slightly hesitant, but he makes it through. He's drawn out a big enough gap, I think, for us not to have to worry about. We'll make sure we'll get Tiergarten. There we go. Through the final chicane of this Nürburgring, 1,000 kilometres, and 6 hours later, that is quite an important win in class for us. I'll take that. That is mostly Peter Sutcliffe's work. I've managed to hold off the F English car for first overall in class, and let's see where the rest of the field finished. And as we look at the overall result from the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometres, we can see that it was a commanding lead for the Chaparral 2D of Joe Bonnier and Phil Hill, ahead of the two factory Ferraris of Lorenzo Bandini, Nino Vaccarella, Mike Parks and John Surtees. We just finished outside the overall podium in 4th place, but first in class with myself and Peter Sutcliffe at the wheel. And just behind us is the Innocent Island of Mike Salmon Ford GC40 of F English. As we head over to the top 20, we can see that it was a pretty good outing for Ferrari 350 LMs. They were just behind the top 3 GT40s, as well as the Porsche 906s dominating the P1 class. And as we look at the schedule, we can see we're down to our final 2 races, with the big one next being Le Mans. And for the overall points tally so far this season, as we enter the final stages of this 1966 Championship, the Chaparral takes the lead on 22 points, just ahead of the Hobson Atwood Jaguar SJ13 that's been so strong for the majority of this season, and 1 point behind them is the factory Ferrari of Surtees and Parks on 18 points, and again a single point behind them the sister car of Vaccarella and Bandini. And a bit further down is the Bizzarini GT Strada with a very impressive 5th overall, and slightly further back the first of the 4 GT40 Mark IIs of Holman and Moody, Voigt, Buncombe and Ginther. And as we head to the P1 class, we can see that it is still the Ferrari of Scaffarotti and Bandini in first place on 24 points, but the Porsches are closing in with Herman, Buzzetta and Mitter on 17 points, 15 points, with another factory Porsche entered 906, and a couple of the privateer entered Porsches not doing too badly either. And as we head to our class, we now have a very healthy lead on 36 points. 10 points behind us is the Essex Wire Corporation, Revson Gregory and Nirpash for GT40, and the sister car a further 6 points back of Thompson and Scott. And with that second place, the F English, Amon Island and Salmon car is on 12 points. As we head to the S2 class, it is the Alfa Romeo that is on top of Zaccoli, Gecki and D. Adinich. And 6 points behind that is one of the first Porsche 904s on 20 points, drawing with a further 2 Alfa Romeo teaser 2s going into Le Mans. And GT plus 3 lead class, once again 2 new entries added to the leaderboard. So that is the Ferrari of Frank Kalkul gets 10 points, as well as the Jochen Nirpash Racing Ford Shelby GT350 on 7 points. So there we go, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that video. I certainly did, and that brings us nicely within the championship, being nice and close to the penultimate race coming up next, the big one, Le Mans. So I hope to see you for that. Thanks so much, take care, and I'll catch you next time.